When we think of World War II survival, we picture bullets, rations and bunkers. But there was another, far more pressing challenge that soldiers faced daily. Water. In the Pacific jungles, the Arctic tundra, and behind enemy lines in Europe, clean drinking water could be harder to find than ammunition. Soldiers had to rely on ingenuity to survive, and some of the most effective techniques were almost entirely forgotten after the war. One such method, developed on the frontiers of World War II's most extreme environments, allowed soldiers to extract water from the air, plants and improvise containers without sophisticated equipment. Today we're uncovering this forgotten frontier trick and showing how its principles remain essential for anyone serious about emergency survival. Soldiers learned to make water appear where none existed. In the remote theatres of World War II, conventional water sources were often contaminated, mined, or simply absent. Troops in the Pacific Islands couldn't rely on streams because they were often polluted or teeming with disease. In the deserts of North Africa, water sources were sparse and closely guarded. Military engineers realized early on that soldiers needed a method to produce water from unconventional sources. One method involved the simple yet ingenious concept of condensation collection. Soldiers would dig shallow pits, place a container in the center, cover the pit with leaves or canvas, and use sunlight to evaporate moisture from the soil. The vapor condensed on the underside of the covering and dripped into the container. This solar still technique could produce enough water to sustain a soldier for a day or more. It required patience and care, but it was highly effective, even in arid or contaminated areas. This method can be applied today in survival scenarios. If you find yourself in a remote area with minimal supplies, digging a small solar still using a plastic sheet or tarp, a container and some damp soil can give you a reliable source of water without risking contamination. During the Second World War, soldiers were trained to use plants not just for camouflage or food, but also as a water source. You see, certain plants store water in their leaves, stems or roots, and with the right know-how it could be safely extracted. For example, bamboo in the Pacific jungles often contained drinkable water in its hollow internodes, while pine trees in colder climates could yield small amounts of sap that, once boiled, could be consumed. Field manuals from that era really emphasized careful identification because, well, some plants could cause illness if eaten or drunk incorrectly. Soldiers learned how to test plants for toxicity and how to extract water efficiently. The key, honestly, was understanding the local flora, something that, even today, many survivalists tend to overlook. If you ever find yourself in a wilderness situation, identifying things like bamboo cacti or birch trees can provide essential hydration. With a knife, or even just improvised tools, you can safely collect plant water without needing fancy filtration. One of the most striking things about this frontier trick was how soldiers used whatever they had lying around to store and transport water. Empty ration tins, fuel cans, or even oil drums became emergency reservoirs. Engineers would coat the inside of metal containers with heat-resistant wax or resin to stop corrosion, while soldiers would use leaves, cloth or tarps to whip up makeshift cups and funnels. It's really a testament to their resourcefulness, isn't it? Practical application today doesn't require specialized gear either. In a survival scenario, even an empty soda can, A piece of fabric or a discarded plastic bottle can be turned into a container for collecting and transporting water. The WWII approach teaches us that innovation often matters more than gear. Finding water was only half the battle. Making it safe to drink was equally crucial. Soldiers in the field were trained to boil water when possible. In situations where fire was unavailable, chemical purification using chlorine tablets or iodine, often carried in compact kits, was employed. In extreme cases, field manuals recommended layering charcoal and sand in a small container to filter debris before chemical treatment or boiling. This technique is still relevant today. You don't always need a commercial water filter. Understanding how to combine filtration, sedimentation, and disinfection can make almost any water source drinkable. A layered cloth or improvised charcoal filter, followed by boiling or chemical treatment, can provide safe hydration even in harsh conditions. What truly made this World War II frontier trick effective wasn't the equipment, it was mindset. Soldiers were trained to observe their environment closely, to think creatively, and to use available resources efficiently. Rainwater could be harvested from leaves or rooftops. Morning dew, collected with cloth, could provide moisture in small amounts. Even digging near the roots of certain trees would reveal damp soil or underground water veins. This principle is, truly timeless. Survival isn't about having the best gear. It's about seeing opportunities and using them. By learning to read the land, anticipate where moisture collects, and improvise containers and filtration, you can produce water just about anywhere. The techniques that saved soldiers in World War II jungles and deserts still work today for preppers, hikers, and survivalists. Access to reliable water had a direct effect on morale and operational capability. Soldiers who mastered these techniques could endure longer patrols, remain hidden in hostile territory, and maintain combat readiness in environments that would otherwise be, frankly, lethal. The ability to secure water independently meant the difference between life and death, showing that survival skills often outweigh equipment in value. World War II's forgotten frontier trick teaches a lesson modern survivalists and history enthusiasts really shouldn't ignore. Innovation, observation, and adaptability matter more than stockpiles or fancy gadgets. By learning to extract water from soil, plants, and the environment, and by purifying it with basic methods, you gain a skill that has sustained humanity in extreme conditions for centuries. If you found value in this deep dive into World War II survival ingenuity, make sure to subscribe to Echoes of Valor for more forgotten strategies, battlefield wisdom, and real-world survival techniques. Share this video with a fellow history buff or prepper, because the lessons of the past continue to save lives today.